Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to talk about your interview questions, but first I just want to check in with everyone and go through all the things we have done so far. So right now, we're almost done. I hope that it has been a fun week and a half. I'm sure it's been busy, but LinkedIn should be done. And I'm thinking everybody's already met and gotten their feedback and whatever. If you don't finish every little thing on your profile, don't stress about that. Just like your resume, it's kind of a living object as long as you need it. There's still a couple of things that I meant to do during Career Lab, my process, and I keep forgetting to do it. But hopefully LinkedIn is in a good place where you like it. And if you have questions about it, we can do that after too. This is just a Q&A session. I know that some of you have already met with your mock interview mentor, but those should be happening this week. Your tech take home, let me click on it. It's there a little bit there. Okay. This you definitely want to do, maybe not well in advance, but not an hour before you're going to have that interview, because you want to send your repo link to your mentor, give them a chance to look at it if they have time to look at it beforehand. But also you want to play with it a little bit to make sure that you're really familiar with what you did and you're ready to talk about it. So again, you don't want to be finishing it 5 minutes before you're going to talk about it. So if you have not yet had your mock interview, get that done soon. Then we're here today. We've got another session tonight if you're interested on finances. I was not able to attend this one myself last time, but it's amazing. So, and I think Lucas put something in the channel if you had questions ahead of time. So if there's something you specifically want to talk about, shoot him a DM or just show up and ask him, because he can answer it tonight live, or this afternoon for some of you, or late tonight for others. Oh gosh, we're so close. Friday. This one's going to be the most important one. It was my favorite. And that is watching your mentor's interview. I think the technical one changed how I interview the most. It gave me so much more confidence. And if you're with me before, I think I said this, that I channeled Jen, the interviewee for my session. I just put her over me and did the same thing and felt the same way and told my story and followed all of her advice. And I'm convinced that's what made all the difference. So if you are available on Friday, it's 9 o'clock Pacific, noon Eastern, that's a super valuable one. And then you're done. Then Collab Lab and Career Lab have come to a full close, and you've got graduation on Sunday. I won't be able to be there. It's my mother-in-law's birthday, so I'm going to miss it, but I'll watch the video afterwards. Just so you know, there's no formal ceremony, though I think it would be hilarious and wonderful if someone showed up in a cap and gown. But it's really a chance to debrief. It's a chance for you to share your experience, to thank your teammates, to thank your mentors, to just sort of give feedback. Collab Lab is always changing, and genuinely, more than anything I've ever experienced, it's all about you getting the best out of it. So if you have any feedback, positive and negative, anything, they would love to hear it, I guarantee. So if you've got an hour on Sunday just to kind of wrap up this awesome experience, that'll be a lot of fun. Okay, so that's it for our check-in. Now for Q&A. This is completely free form. Anything you have a question about, I'll try and answer, or someone else will try to answer. It's just a back and forth of whatever you need that's come up in the last week. So raise your hand, unmute, go for it. No specific questions, huh? You're going to make me just talk? I can do that too. So I was thinking about okay, what kind of questions would everyone have? All the resources are fantastic. Did everybody watch Andrew's video? Yep. So the number one thing in that one that comes back to me over and over again is that you're interviewing them too. And it's actually even more circular than that, because the questions you ask, the answers are important to you, but they're learning something about you when you ask those questions too. So like, if you ask questions like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of what's a negative question. There is no negative question, but like, if all your questions are about, you know, compensation, what are you doing for me? You're going to send the message of, the only thing I care about is a paycheck, right? If all of your questions are, tell me about the team dynamics, tell me about how you do things, tell me what you like, tell me how the company is, you know, dealing with XYZ, like how did they deal with COVID stuff when it first happened, or whatever, that tells them what's important to you. And I think that's good, but you also get to frame that. So you get to ask the questions that frame your story. And it's not so necessarily obvious that that's what you're doing, but you can do that. And then the other thing is notes. I actually, after this session, I think I might've started doing it, came up with like a notes layout where I split the page, not literally, but you know, this half was the job from the company's perspective, and then my questions were on the right. And I put down the title. And if I didn't know much about the role, I left a little space so that I could scribble notes in after I was, you know, they described the role. So I would put little notes in there. I wrote down the tech stack and left space so that I could add some stuff. I highly recommend Glassdoor is an obvious one, you know, to see what kind of interview questions they might ask, or, you know, what other people thought about the process. So definitely check out companies on Glassdoor, but their own websites, right? Go to their websites, find their values, see if they've got a blog, things like that, because you can find something that resonates and then frame a question around that you're going to ask them. Like, one of your values is diversity. What does that mean? How is your company doing it? You know, whatever your question ends up being. But what you said is, on your website, I saw that, you know, one of your values is X or something. So you can really, without a lot of time and energy, cater those questions that tell your story to their website and their story, which will tick a bunch of boxes in your interviewer. And then the questions that are most important to you, and then leave space. So yeah, I literally did it like a little template. And then I also had this great thing so that when I wrote that email of thanks so much for meeting with me, I had a reference to their answers or more questions I had or whatever. Because every once in a while, it happened twice, I had 2 or 3 roles I was interviewing for overlapping, and it got really confusing. Like, you know, which one of these companies is 100% remote? Which one of these is on Eastern time? Which one, you know, that kind of stuff was nice. Anyway, did that spark any ideas that you have questions about? We're just getting too good, huh? You know everything and ready to conquer it.
I have a question, not directly about like interview questions, but just
Sure.
You mentioned like a good place to find jobs is LinkedIn and Glassdoor. And I wonder what other places to find jobs.
The places that I found the best, you know, that in some way linked to me better through a person or through, and I don't mean a friend, I mean, were my different Slack groups and the people I followed on Twitter and stuff like that, because I ended up self-selecting things that were just more my cup of tea. Like, I followed someone on Twitter who once a month or something would put a list of apprenticeships up, and I applied to a couple of those, got one, and was happily able to say no because I got a job offer a week later. But you know, there's people out there sifting through stuff, because just LinkedIn or just Indeed and putting front-end developer, there's so many billions of things, and you're just one of a million people applying for it. Not saying don't do it, because you'll find stuff on there, but I didn't get any of those to really pan out. So the job I ended up getting was one of my Slack communities. Somebody posted a job and also said, you know, feel free to message me if you have any questions. So I applied and then immediately sent him a message. And he sent back a bulleted list of all the things I should be prepared for in the interview. He didn't give me answers or anything. He's just said, make sure you're solid in vanilla CSS, performance something and something else. I don't remember. I'm like, cool. So I spent a couple hours studying and making sure that I was ready. And then the interview ended up happening and I got the job. So, but this wasn't a friend. This is just somebody who was on a Slack. So I think this one was out in tech. So whatever communities you belong to, make sure you're on all of their job boards. And be patient, because you never know which one's gonna hit. Also, I don't know if anyone's talked about it. Do write cover letters. I'm 100% convinced that every interview I got from the companies that I really liked, or because I put something personal, it was clearly not form letter. I'm a former science teacher and I applied to Desmos. They're actually mostly math, but they do some science stuff too. It's an online tool that I actually use constantly. And I saw that they had a role. I was totally not qualified for it, but I wrote the gushiest cover letter about, I actually use this tool. Part of the reason I went into tech is because tech for teachers sucks, but your tool didn't, and they interviewed me. I was so not qualified. And they knew it, I knew it. And we still went all the way to the tech interview stage because I think they really, really wanted to get a teacher. And so to see if there was any chance they could give me a job. And the answer was no, because that was my first tech interview and it went horribly wrong. Just everything about it was terrible. But I'm convinced I would not have gotten that just by giving them my resume. They'd be like, you're a boot camp grad. You've never made anything. Goodbye. So even if it's just those little things where it says answer a few questions, I would take those seriously. Is everybody going to look at them? No. Half the companies out there say we don't care about that at all. We don't even look at them. Sometimes HR will look at them, but they never get to the engineering team who would really care. But the half that do look at them, I think they're worth the investment if it's something you really want. Are you going to spend an hour crafting the perfect cover letter to everything you apply to? Probably not. But if it's one that you think is awesome, do it. Any other questions? Sonia.
I don't really have a question, but I'd love just to hear some feedback. And because I have this question that I've asked twice now, and I think it's really kind of caught the interviewer off guard a little bit, but it actually has been good results so far too. So, and I was just telling Steph about this, we were talking before. So one of the companies I've interviewed for was just like my absolute dream company. And I sailed through behavioral, sailed through HR, got to the systems design, which I'd never done. And I knew it was going to go horribly wrong, and it did, but I did it. I spent the entire hour, just kept talking. I just was like, I'm not going to let them stop me. I'm going to keep talking. I'm just going to I'm not going to let them say you're done now. So until the hour was up. And at the end, they said, do you have any questions? And I said, look, I'm like, should I not go further? Kind of like tongue in cheek. I knew that wasn't going to happen. What can I do now? What can I do in the next 6 months, 3 months? What should I be doing to be able to come back and interview with you again? And, how do I prepare for this better next time? And he was like, he's like, you know what? Let me call you, or let me contact you out of office hours. He's like, I'll set up a meeting for us. And he literally took an hour of his evening and just helped me come up with all these ideas. You need maybe just go for do something like a consulting firm, like an FDM or Capgemini, try that, get your feet wet, do this, look at nonprofits, look at education. He was just like all these ideas. And I was like, I can't believe you did that. You're just spend an hour of your evening, trying to help me get into tech. And then the second time I said that question again, when I felt like it was just not going well. It was the end of the technical, and I'd solved a lot of the issues, but I still didn't feel great Anyway, I asked the question again. I'm like, when can I apply again? What should I be doing in the meantime to prepare for this again? Because I really like your company. And that time I got the apprenticeship. So, and I'm still negotiating with them right now, but I don't know, like, if what you think about that. I feel like,
I think that is an amazing question. I'm so jealous that I didn't have it before, because there were definitely a couple of times where I would have loved to use that. You're sharing that you know that it didn't go well. So you're self-aware. That's valuable. You're also sharing how interested you are in the company and how willing you are to learn. And those two things, I mean, what more could a company ask for? I've heard engineers, I haven't got to experience this yet, so give me 2 more weeks. Yesterday, that's when I start. But I've heard engineers say over and over again that you probably don't know the tech you're going to be working on. You know, you're not going to be an expert, even senior level. You're not going to necessarily be an expert in the stuff that you're going to be using, but how do you approach that? How do you learn? How fast do you learn? You know, how do you work in a different environment that will apply to our environment? That's all they're looking for. So you shared your personality, you shared your drive. That one question shared your motivation. Like, I think that's fantastic. I love too that the engineer came back and mentored you. It's not always like that, but when it is, it's so awesome. And it also, for us women, to know that there are a bunch of people out there that are welcoming to noobs, because we're not common. And then, of course, and this is for all of us, career changers. We didn't just graduate with a CS degree, like some companies are only hiring from that pool. I had that happen. I sent an email to someone and just said, any advice? And he's like, sure, you got time for a phone call? And we spent like 20 minutes on a Friday night doing the same thing. He gave me this big laundry list of all the things I would want to know and be good at before applying again and stuff like that, because I didn't even get to the tech interview stage. So yeah, I think that's a really great question, and it worked. And also, you've made that connection, whether it's with an hour-long phone interview or just you impress them when you ask that question. If in 6 or 12 months, you apply again, you've already got that hook. And I mean, honestly, even just reaching out to that specific person and saying, hey, did all these things and I'm ready to try again.
I can't wait to do that. I'm gonna be like, 6 more months, I'm back.
So I had this little round where I got two jobs at the same time, but before that, it comes in waves. Like every 2 or 3 months, 2 or 3 things would happen at the same time. It was exhausting. But I applied for a job that I thought would be a dream job, and I went really, really far. And then I can't even explain it. I totally misunderstood the take-home assignment and did it so wrong, so badly. It didn't even function. I misunderstood it so badly, but it was a timed thing. So I had to submit it. I didn't have any choice. And I just started sending emails going, I totally tanked that. This is why I tanked that. And yeah, what do I do? Because I'm going to, I think they even said, please keep us in mind. And I'm like, oh, I will. I'm going to get better though, because clearly I'm not ready for you guys yet. So, and they're in the back of my head. Like, if this doesn't turn out to be my dream job in a year or two, when I have the skills to actually go back to that one, I'm going to do that. So anything that, leaves a good impression, in their heads. And I would definitely follow up with an email and just thank them, for whatever they said. I'm talking about the dream job that answered, thank them for any of the things that they said. Be specific, say, I love it, da, 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 da. I will, keep my eyes on postings in the future, whatever. That's really cool. Anyone else have like questions that they've asked in interviews before that have gotten interesting or surprised responses? We should definitely share those, because anything that makes you stand out or sparks their get an emotional response out of the interviewer is good.
Well, I haven't actually used this at a real interview, it was a question that I used in my job fit mock interview, and the interviewer was interested by it and said he hadn't experienced it before. So that was the question: is what was the last change that was implemented at the company based on employee feedback?
Oh, that's a good one. There's a lot of layers there. Yeah, you have to ask that one and then tell us how it goes.
Totally.
Yeah. And you're going to get a feel too, like, and I don't know if it'll be at the recruiter level or the hiring manager level, what level it'll be, but you'll get a feel like that. Sometimes they'll even say, okay, I have this question I always ask, you know, they'll preface it like that. So you'll know that they've got that one coming. So you could do the same thing, because I did that. I'm like, okay, I have this question that I always ask, you know, and mine was, it's actually from Andrew. It's like, what do you like best about working, you know, at this company? And the thing you got to remember too is digging through their responses, right? Are they surprised? That means you just ticked a good box of, okay, I got their attention. Do they turn around and give you a pat answer that you know is completely canned and boring and unauthentic? That might set off alarm bells for you. It might not. Sets off alarm bells for me, because my huge thing I realized is I want to go someplace to work with the people. That was just it. I found out really, really early on in this process that if you didn't give me warm, fuzzy feelings, then I wasn't going to do well in that environment. And it even got to the point, it's kind of embarrassing to say, but it worked. I got such warm, fuzzy feelings. It's actually what I'm saying when she, you know, this is a question I always ask. She framed it as what I like to do is, and I'm going to share this with you in case anyone pulls you on this, because it's, somebody has a question. I'll get to it in a sec. But this one, if anyone pulls you on this, just be ready. It could trigger something. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. She said, tell me the name of a boss that you've had, you know, a direct supervisor that we can frame questions around. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Carla, who was my last assistant principal. And she goes, okay, what would Carla say blank? What would Carla say blank? And most of them are really easy. And it was nice because it led me to specific examples that I didn't have to already have specific examples already. That's good advice. But then all of a sudden she said, what would Carla say? Something like that you didn't handle well and you should have handled better, something like that. I can't remember what it was. And it triggered an emotional response from teaching during COVID. And I started crying, and I'm like, oh crap. I'm in the middle of a professional interview and I'm crying, and you can't hide it. You know, you've got your voice is cracking. Give me a sec, you know, that kind of thing. And she started crying. So half of me is going, this is terrible. Like, I mean, yeah, you want them to be genuine conversations, but oh my gosh, we're going to a place that could be traumatic for, you know, whatever. But then I realized we just went to that squishy place. And if that's okay for her, because she's not nervous or emotionally involved, then come on, that was great. And so we actually ended up having an exchange, a messaging exchange after the whole thing, and we're fine. I made light of it. But, you know, those kinds of things were important to me. So you want to be able to read between the lines and find out what sort of things are important to you and see if you can prompt it to happen, you know, and get those authentic responses. Okay, a lightning round. Oh, you mean where they ask you a bunch of questions rapid fire?
Yeah, it just made me think about, like, you know, if that were your thing, like if you were like, okay, I've got these 5 questions, are you ready? You know, and you could just kind of gauge, you know, how people say like New York or Los Angeles, or, you know, like, and it would
that would
fun.
be fun. I think that
Depending
would
on how it
really
goes,
good impression too. That would be fun. Well, also, especially if you, yeah. So you don't need a big, long, drawn out, you know, tell me about your favorite thing, and it takes them 5 minutes to answer. Say, okay, 5 quick questions, 10-second answers, boom, boom, boom.
Just end on a light note if
Yeah.
that's what you need, you know.
I think that's really good. You end on a light note, you end on a positive note.
Yeah.
It'll
And
be
it's
something
still
you,
information too, like, you know, East Coast,
Yeah.
West Coast, like,
yep, they'll remember
yeah.
you. So that's great. That's really good. In my mock interview, I don't know if any of you had Eddie for your job fit interview, but he did my job in fit interview. You did? Did he ask you what your special sauce is?
No,
Oh, that's so funny. So maybe, or was it superpower? Did he ask you your superpower? It was
no, I
one or
don't
the
think
other,
so.
but I think
He
it was
asked me
special sauce.
key values.
Oh, okay. So I think maybe the timing was different or whatever, but he asked me what my special sauce was, and it totally threw me. But like I giggled, like it was fun and such a good lighthearted move. You can make that move too, you know. They're got a stressful day. They might have 20 of these interviews. You know, they're back to back to back. Give them a lighthearted moment. I really like that one. I had somebody say there was some question that basically asked something like that too, like totally off the topic, to ask them that just to get them to, you know, loosen up and think happy thoughts before leaving your discussion. You want to definitely end on a positive note, and a laugh is good. Have you guys done any, I know this is more about the job fit and the questions that you ask people, but has anyone had a technical interview that they want to talk about in real life? Sonia, I liked how you described how you just kept going. You just kept talking to fill that time. Because yeah, that happened to me a few times where my mind it was just blank. There was no there. And that's kind of a skill to learn how to get past that and to be able to keep talking.
It's hard. Usually that's what happens to me. I have nothing. And I was just like, not going to go there this time. It was really,
Yeah.
it was too important.
Yeah. And that's perfect. That's what everyone says to do. But it's hard to get there. I was finally able to do it. It's those algorithm ones that are so tough. If they give you a take-home assignment like the Collab Lab practice one or Career Lab practice one, you can have some ownership and some thought about it, so it's easier to talk about. But when they sit there cold and go, okay, I'm going to give you an array like this, and you're going to figure out how to do this with it, go. And I'm just like, those are so hard. I don't even know how to assign a variable anymore. Write a function. Oh. You don't have to have questions, don't have to hang out and listen to me chatter. If you're in a good place, yay.
I have another question, I guess. How much effort or how successful have people been at like finding an actual hiring manager name? Because I feel like I'm kind of like, if this apprenticeship doesn't work out with, I've had to negotiate a few things, so I'm waiting to hear back. But like my mind has been like, I'm on break for 2 months. Like it's summer, my kids are done at school. I'm taking 2 months off. And you know, just because it's a lot of work. I've been looking since January, so it's been about 4 months. And
Yeah, oh, it's a
pretty
full-time
solid 4 months. So
job.
and I know that's not enough, or that's not a long time compared to some people. So I'm like, I feel good about taking the break. But like, I know it's always better to have a name or have the recruiting, you know, person you can reach out to on LinkedIn. I totally get that. But like, how much do you go into like trying to figure that out if it's not just there? Or is it even possible to find it, do you think? Or like, what are some methods you've used or anyone has used to like figure that out if it's not like I'm the hiring manager and, you know, instead of an HR person or whatever, I guess.
Right. I have a tiny bit of information. Has anyone else done this or heard any advice. Yeah, it's tricky. If they don't have hiring manager, in their job description on LinkedIn or on the website, it's probably next to impossible, would be my guess. I don't know because I haven't been involved in too many companies. And I guess it also probably depends on how big they are, if they have dedicated hiring managers, or if that role kind of just bounces around the team depending on what's needed. Yeah, that one's tricky. But I would say some really solid LinkedIn stalking. And I mean, it's all about stalking and trying to dig in and find that. So yeah, use your Google foo and your LinkedIn foo, if that's a thing. That sounds weird, to try and just find the right roles and titles. It's all social media too. Like you might find that in some sort of old Twitter post as opposed to their official title in LinkedIn, which sometimes people don't even put their job titles in there. They just put their interests, or my favorite is the, team builder, or whatever, just like they have a euphemism for what that role would be and how are you supposed to find them with that. And then you probably have access to more if you have a pro account versus a regular account. Yeah, I don't have good ideas about that though. That's an interesting question.
I feel like all the ones that I'm like interested in applying to don't have it. And then ones like descriptions that I find that are interesting, I'm like, or that aren't interesting, then they have it. And I'm like, well, it'd be great if I actually wanted to apply to that one. There's
what you could do, have you tried yet to do the cold connect with someone at a company you're interested in? So meaning finding the role, front end engineer, full stack engineer, whatever it is at that company, and sending them a connection request or even just a message, whatever, saying, hey, this is who I am. I would love if you have time to give me some advice about how you got your role. Or, again, remember, it's not about, can you give me a job? It's, is there any advice you can give me? And what could happen from one of those is, hey, love to talk or whatever, but why don't you check with our hiring manager? Our team has some openings. Boom. Doing some of those, they're cold calls or cold messages, whatever. So, out of 10, maybe one pans out to a response, but that would be one way. So find the engineers, find the developers in that company, and see if someone will give you the contact if they're not the contact. Without asking for it directly.
It's like that fundraising phrase, they say like, ask for money, they'll give you advice. Ask for advice, someone will give you money. So it's the same thing. You ask for a job, they might give you advice. Ask for advice, they might give you a job.
Yeah. So ask for advice and they might give you a contact or something. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Hey, y'all feel good? No more questions specifically. You can always throw them in Slack too, and probably get a lot of answers, from your mentors and stuff. So feel free. And even after the cohort's over, my TCL 36 channel is still there, and we will throw stuff out to that one or Learning Together all the time. So it stays live, and my mentors will always be my mentors. So your mentors will always be available. Oh, hey, do any of you have Lindsay? Are you on Lindsay's? So she was part of she's my collabie, I guess. So yeah.
She was amazing. She was like,
is amazing.
Anything we needed, anytime. It was like, I'm here, guys.
Yep.
So great.
That is her. Exactly. Good. I'm glad. Okay. We have another session tonight 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, on navigating finances. So if you're interested in that, come on back. I think we're good. Yeah. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll either
Thank you so
see
much.
you tonight or Friday. Friday's the good one. Bye.